file for it. Did you catch? Maybe?
It was sort of there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Pints of Wisdom. You are going to be in for a treat. We are installing this regular update of essentially a lot of AI, a lot of data, a lot of HubSpot. But if you didn't guess from the title of the overall series, we're also going to be drinking some pints along the way. So let's get started today with my first guest, my fellow team member, Chris Nault from Growth. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're drinking today.
I can do that. All right. I've got a good option. Hi, I'm Chris from Growth, or Christopher Nault. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth, and we are an elite HubSpot partner. We help companies with complex revenue problems all around the world and of different sizes. So love working with Amber and love myself a beer. Today, I'm going to be cracking open. It's called the Mai Tai IPA. And if you are ever visiting Monterey, California, they have a tasting room that we all went to. You've been here, right downtown, and this is known as the neighborhood beer. It's a tropical IPA, so it's not super hoppy, nice and smooth. Perfect in case you find yourself recording a podcast episode in the middle of the day. So Let's see if I can get that audio file for it. Did you catch? Maybe
it was sort of there. Chris,
so
what time is it there? No judgment.
It's 10:59 a.m.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm on the other side of noon, so it's completely acceptable if I crack one as well. This local brew, which is going to foam over on me, is from Laughing Sun. It is a local brewery that's been around since about 2012. It is a Belgian style ale.
Nice.
It is 9% alcohol.
I was going to say there's got to be some heat on that. Belgian beers are not for the light of heart.
No, it's definitely not a light of heart. My favorite thing to do throughout the winter is there's yoga at the brewery. So we will on Sundays mornings do yoga, and then afterwards we'll have a sinister beer, girlfriends, and 9% alcohol at 11 a.m. Probably worth it.
There's just something magical about tying a little bit of blood pumping and exercise with the celebratory beverage. That has always been my highlight of hiking and today, I guess.
Yeah. By the way, for all of you, just background, what you don't see on the camera, I was planning the first episode recording today. My first guest, I won't name names, canceled on me. And I literally said, hey, Chris, what are the chances you're free in the next 20 minutes and want to do this session with me? By the way, you have to go get a local beer. He literally runs out of the office back in 10 minutes with great ideas, which you'll hear more about in a little bit. But also, I think an 8-pack of beer. So I reminded him you only need one. They're sold in packs. So if anybody happens to be in Monterey, Chris is hosting a party this afternoon. But I appreciate him for being on demand with my crazy ideas. So
I might say this is the best thing anyone's asked me to do at Growth ever. So happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, if you episode 2, he might cancel as well. So you never know.
I'll be a recurring guest. Sign me up, please.
There you go. All right. So beyond the beer, which I have not taken a sip of, by the way, so I'm going to pause here to do that.
Please, I'll join you.
Sinister Pear, if you're ever in North Dakota. Okay. Beyond the beer part of this, obviously it's a fun twist to some wisdom around data, HubSpot, AI, digital in general, which is changing really quickly right now. But today our big topic that I want to talk about is data enrichment. Don't fall off your seat.
It's so exciting. It'll drive you to drink in the middle of the day.
It will. Hey, but if you are a BDR and you are starting with a database of 10 and you have to go and your job is to find more people and sell to them, is data enrichment not your best friend?
Not only it's great for BDRs, it's also interesting how because of the siloing of sales and marketing, how the introduction to data enrichment can cause a lot of internal, like, I want to say challenges, but just opportunities to change maybe some traditional thought around the whole motion of marketing and sales. Sorry for instantly deep diving, but that's what
that's a good deep dive. So would you say, like, are you thinking what I'm thinking, where like marketers are anti-data enrichment in some ways?
It can definitely be like that. And I mean, we're at growth, right? We're going through this own internal conversation of go-to-market engineering and GTME. Where does that role live? Should it be a BDR that's enriching their data and deciding who to reach out to, or should that decision come a little bit farther upstream? Oh, excuse me.
This is also part of like the show.
Yeah, it all depends. I get excited, and I'm having day beers, so here we are. So enrichment is great. Who should enrich? And then, these things cost money too, right? So if you put someone junior who's managed by someone who's unfamiliar with this, it can get really crazy really quickly if you start going to an external tool and just downloading massive lists and treating them like they're yours. And if you already have a pre-existing portal and you just enrich everything, that can get expensive really quickly. So again, hop all over the place.
I have so many follow-up questions. First of all, who should own data enrichment?
So I think it depends on your organization and where you are in business. I think if you are an established manufacturing firm or an industrial company, that decision might want to come up a little farther upstream. You know who your clients are. You sell a particular dongle to a particular type of company. I would say it's probably the sales leader who's obviously well connected with their marketing team, deciding who to target and what information they need to do that outreach. If you're in a SaaS company, maybe it's owned by marketing because your instinct is to lean into high volume outreach. And so you're really considering that like a top of funnel marketing play, not suggested.
Yeah.
If you're a consulting firm like Growth with 20 people, it's a little bit of the founder and the director of revenue, and then somebody like Jesse that's been in the role for so long, he knows the right things to do and knows our database well enough to be informative, and it's a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
It depends.
I was gonna say I hate that response. Not gonna lie. Do you like IPAs? It depends.
It does.
It does. Okay, but here's what I think. Like, one, I love the idea of a go-to market engineer, HubSpot admin, CRM admin, like whatever your company calls them. I love that role because they often sit between sales, marketing, customer success, like rev ops person, whatever they're called. They're always sitting to serve all those departments. And so, one, I think that they're a key person that makes decisions on the data, how it should be governed, what gets enriched, what doesn't get enriched. And having that role, whether you're huge or small, it really makes sense. Even if that person wears multiple hats, like designating who is the person who owns our data and decides things on our data is important. And then I think there's this, like, we used to talk a lot about sales and marketing alignment, and we'd have like workshops, right? And I feel like the world's forgot about those and need to go back to that thinking and make a regular repertoire of it. Because if we were doing that up front, we would be defining what data should be enriched. Who should be enriched? Like, how much are we going to spend on enrichment? Like, it wouldn't be I'm going to go enrich this list because I found it. Or it wouldn't be this field is missing, so then I'm going to do it one at a time. If you create the rules and the definition up front, then you can build the tools in a way that basically automate that and serve your purpose. And yes, you revisit every couple months, but the tool should do the work for you, right? Am I thinking about that in the wrong way?
Excuse me, my body is not used to this day here, but I'm all about it. I'm like, woo, let's go. I will say, like, sales and marketing alignment feels a lot like pumpkin spice. Like, this is the time of year it gets re-brought up every year. Like, every year. We're starting to look at 2026. For those of us that have been more established, tenured organizations, maybe you're looking at how you're going to try to make the last couple of months of this year work if you're a startup. This is just the time it happens. And yes, software should inform it. And again, I go back to culture thing. There should be an annual planning meeting where the leaders of both sides, hopefully there's more than one, are collaborating. bonus point if you can bring some service leadership in there to talk about that. And I feel like I may have moved off topic.
No, it's okay. We'll keep. I had a lot of questions I already forgot about too. Okay, so one of the reasons we're talking about data enrichment today is HubSpot has moved over to Data Hub, moved away from Ops Hub. It's now about data, and part of that is reversing a thing they did, I don't know, a year or two ago, where basically they said, hey, we're going to take away HubSpot, for those of you who don't know, has historically enriched key information on a company for free. You didn't have to pay extra. And about a year or so ago, they said, actually, we're going to start charging you for that. We're not going to give it away for free. And as of inbound, they said, well, actually, we're changing our minds, which I love also. Like, the power of companies and people realizing they did something that backfired or wasn't going to work, like, and saying, and being willing to say, oops, we made a mistake. We're going to change this, and not having ego to prevent yourself from doing that. Kudos to HubSpot for that. But anyways, they give it to us for free right now. Do you
mostly? It's not full enrichment. They've gone back to re-offering the free baseline enrichment, and you do have to be on the starter hub. But I mean, like, you got to be on the starter hub, right? At a minimum, if you're listening to this point. If
you're not,
it gives you
good people who can sell you.
Swipe up. But location, company size, revenue, those are and industry. Those are the primary free enrichment tools. I think one of the reasons they're able to do that is that taps into like just publicly available databases versus some of the deeper levels of enrichment that need intent data from Bombora or data waterfalling through LinkedIn. And, again, that's another rabbit hole for
we're going to go down
another beer.
Yeah,
excellent.
No, we'll have to have two. We're only 13 minutes in. We're good. Yeah, and actually, you made a great call out. Like, in general, I mean, there's some enrichment platforms out there that will help you on a B2C standpoint. Yellow Book,
right?
You'll still get those. I do, actually. It's a great fire starter. But do in general, HubSpot will only enrich, just like a lot of platforms, B2B data, because it's free. Like, we can't find where somebody lives or what their phone number is based on their email address. If it's not Gmail, right? Yeah,
there's a lot of compliance issues with that idea too. Like, that is terrifying to think of. Like, as businesses, a business has an EIN, which is a social security number, and part of the thing is I am a public business, so people are allowed to know about me. But as an individual, like, it's not the same thing, and that's a big communication hurdle to get over organizations that maybe have leaned heavily into B2B and are trying to use the same mindset. But just like marketing tactics, B2C and B2B often operate in different universes.
Right. Yeah, and that's a great, like, maybe another rabbit hole. We're going to go down so many. We're going to end up in China by the end of this conversation. But like,
dumplings.
Yeah, I actually just had dumplings. Not gonna lie, I made them myself. Anyways, how do you, if you are a company, and I've heard this pushback all the time of like, ooh, I don't want to enrich data because it makes me seem like a creep or a stalker, and specifically company B2B data. But how do you approach enrichment when you need to get in front of those people, but they haven't expressed and said, hey, Chris, here's my email address. Do you go and email them? Like, what's the best way to actually use enrichment in a way that's non-creepy?
So I think in a non-creepy way, in the professional setting, it's a sign of respect to do a little bit of homework. And homework just had to be manually in the past. So all you're really doing is respecting the person before you reach out to them. Because if somebody who's trying to sell me, I don't know why cheesecake has been on my mind lately, but selling me cheesecake, growth isn't in the cheesecake business. So I'd be like, hey man, thanks for just wasting some of my time. I wouldn't really, that'd probably buy a cheesecake, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there's a respect there. It's not creepy. It's business best practice. And when you go to reach out, I think there's two frames of mind, and it depends on your tactic. One is, I feel like it is very reasonable to say, if you are leaning heavily on automation, that this message is coming from a person, but the act of messaging and sending has been done through AI. I think that tonality is allowed now and isn't crazy. And if you land the message right, depending on who it's coming from, a BDR should have plenty of time to write messages assisted by AI. But let's say I want to reach out to a bunch of HubSpot partners that might be interested in acquisition. I might start my AI outreach simply saying like, hey, this is how I got here. If you have any interest, let me know.
Right.
And I think the target for that message would be like, okay, this makes sense. And wow, that's kind of cool. How did he do that? Mm-hmm. So it depends. But for me, my like rocks of decision-making are, is it honest? Is it helpful? Is it kind? And if it matches those three for outbound, send it and iterate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I use this analogy all the time of like, and you kind of just describe that of fishing, like it, and I'm not going to use a spearfishing example. That's a separate one, but like my kids love to fish and they love to like test different bait. Right. But if you are going, and I am terrible at the right bait for the right fish, but if you are going walleye fishing, you need to use like worms. Right. And in that sense, like you're using the right bait, you know, enough to like put the right bait on the hook for that type of fish you're fishing for. But then when you cast it into the lake, they need to come to you, right? So like one thing that I love to do is I will do multi-channel, have the enrichment, know enough to prioritize who I'm going after and go after the right people, both with demographics, but also intent. We're definitely coming back to that. But then also looking at beyond that, how can I attract them to me, right? Like, can I run advertising and put the right type of content in front of them? Can I also hit them up on LinkedIn or email or just show up in their industry publication that matters to them? Like there's, I think, this idea of like use enrichment to, yes, go and send the message, but also you should be thinking about how can I pull those people back in and drive value? And you can get them to opt in and say, yes, I want to keep hearing from you if you're doing it with the right message, the right content, the value, like driving value. And you're not going to catch all the fish in that scenario, but at least when you do catch them, like they really want that worm on the hook.
Yeah, I think totally makes sense. And B2C has so many more opportunities and so much more volume to do things that I think B2B universes start to catch on 5-10 years later. One example is like a lot of money when you're creating a product and consumer, you spend a lot of money on testing and finding the market and the messaging. We don't do that in B2B. We just assume we know the things. Click here to save 10% or speed up revenue by insert number that nobody understands and is completely reflective on all the data that it's representing.
Yeah,
I guess that's more of a side comment for saying that, like, hey, for B2B companies, if you're really looking for how to acquire customers, there's a very plain blueprint on the other side of the ocean. And kind, helpful, and honest is the way.
Well, that I might get that as a tattoo, but
chest tattoo in Old English, super aggressive.
But we're going to take an intermission here. Also, we are not officially sponsored by any of these beers. But if you guys want to sponsor us, I am currently doing this semi-free. Just kidding. I'm also getting paid to be here. But sponsorship is a great idea if you are allowed. Kidding. Does your can have anything cool on it, Chris, as we sit here in this intermission?
Slightly. Like there's flamingos, and I don't quite understand why. This is not a flamingo part of the world. In Monterey, we have lots of beautiful wildlife. I'm not sure. I mean, I get tropical IPA. I get it. But like there's a lot of cool animals here. Like a sea otter would have been sick. Like a gray whale.
Is there an otter beer? I feel like that should be a thing.
We have a brewery across the street that doesn't sell outside. It's a Nano Brewery, which is a great side story. They have a sea otter beer. They're still getting their own legs, though, and their beers have some work to do. But after work, it's great, like 3 o'clock.
And you're really thirsty. Yeah.
Yes. The crowd's just like 25 seats. So funny.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm not in Monterey. I'm in North Dakota. we have a lot of farming here, and I in preparation for this, I did not know this before today, and I feel embarrassed because I've been to this brewery 1,000 times. This beer is 95% the wheat and oats from it, whatever, barley is the right thing, is 95% sourced from North Dakota. So like, not only is it brewed here, it's actually produced here with our grains. So
vertical integration, the old
very
McDonald's model. I love it.
And I've never noticed this saying on here, but it says the sun doesn't question, it doesn't judge, it simply gives life. Like, how cute is that?
It just does what it does.
I feel so alive right now. Also, I feel
finish the rest of that beer, and you're going to be feeling real alive.
9%.
Yes. Go to a couple sales calls and be like, "We'll do it for free," and be like, "Oh, that's why Chris always says that."
I do have a sales call, but I made sure to put a price on it before this, so we'll be okay. So one of the questions I have been thinking about a lot is, what are some like enrichment concepts that have become hot topics that most people probably don't understand or get? And I'll give you my example that I had to literally like do a lot of chat GPTing and Googling on, which is waterfall. Like, what does waterfall mean? Well, we all know what a waterfall is, but like, what does it mean with enrichment?
Yeah, it's nice because you wanted to go chasing waterfalls in this example.
My 90s heart started, it'll sing.
Oh my God. But the idea here is that whoever your data provider is, and in HubSpot, they acquired Clearbit. So that is their enrichment provider. And so that's just like stop one. You have, and it usually starts at the email level. So email level for enrichment, I want to know, like we said, the base things, industry, company size, it'll probably give you that.
Okay.
But is that person still at that company? TBD. And that tool may not do that portion. So you may set up a waterfall, and the second step of this waterfall, it's really more like a stair visual than it is kind of straight down. But the second one might be, okay, is this an active person? Okay, did Clearbit, HubSpot, give me their LinkedIn profile? If not, can step 2 of the waterfall provide that missing information and do some validation? And then you might, step 3 might be IP address. So if you're using a tool like Rollworks, ABM ad roll, whatever they're calling it now, and you want to drop ads to individual people, you're going to need their IP address. And yes, LinkedIn, yes, Google, yes, a lot of these tools sell your information. Okay, whatever they want to call it.
In their terms of service, they don't sell your. Just kidding.
They just LinkedIn just shared the new updated terms of service, and I have a pending LinkedIn post where they definitely say they do. Yeah. Anyway, omit that until I have like a lawyer validate, but like very clearly says thank you for your service. And that's what a waterfall does. There's so much you can know. There's so many use cases, and it's highly unlikely that your first most accessible tool is designed to catch it all. Apollo was designed initially to be a catch-all tool, and they realized, hey, we have some great data sources, but we don't have all of them. And you will pay for each step because they are paying for each step. And that is part of the credit transaction model, which may or may not be on today's agenda.
Yeah, we might go there, but that might be like an episode 2, unless you do have an old 8-pack. We could get into it. We'll
Katrina's like, what happened to you?
Yeah,
this is the best day of work ever.
Good thing you can walk home, right? Okay, so I first was introduced to the waterfall concept, like beyond the project management world, with Clay. Like, and what was interesting to me in Clay, like I didn't really understand it fully until I started actually setting up some enrichment in there. And the way I like used it often wasn't even any like you described. So now I'm like, oh, there's other ways to think about this. It would often be like one data point. So it's like, oh, I'm going to go find the email for an email. And if that doesn't find it, then I'm going to check Zoom info. And then I'm going to check Apollo, and like would basically check for like one piece of data. But I like how you described that of like, there's multiple fields you need to check along the way to make sure that the information is totally valid, because
I would think about it like this. Like if you were making a lasagna, you could probably go to your local neighborhood grocery store and get all the things you need to make a lasagna. But like I am super, and Nick Cole is too, like we're weird about ingredients, which is one of the reasons I gave you that salt and didn't give you the backstory. Another conversation for another time. Um, but so for me to make a lasagna, I actually, to get all the ingredients, I actually do have to go to a couple of different stores. And so if you do specialty lasagna for your outreach, meaning it's tight, this is like a mastercraft sales pitch, you probably need to go up to a few different vendors to find the data that you need to ship it.
Interesting. Okay.
And it gets expensive because you probably only need that once you have gone through all of the easy wins. Inbound 101, you've done that. You've got a program, you're inbounding. Outbound 101, ABM 101, you've done that. You've got all the low-hanging fruit. As you start to get more complicated and you're going from, oh, look, we can grow 10%, no problem. And then you get into the 0.5%, 1%. That's when you start. This is for like ABM or outbound advanced, in my opinion, in almost most cases.
Interesting. And so you brought up like job changes, which baffles me, like how many years we went about enrichment and marketing programs and kind of like overlook job changes. I feel like we're like, oh, we built up this solid database, like, but people are changing jobs now more than they ever have. So we didn't have, maybe it wasn't a problem as much as it is today. What do you like? How do you handle that? Like if you're thinking about enrichment, do you not worry about it if your industry isn't prone? Is any industry safe at all?
Every industry is prone. Around COVID, there was a massive shift that led to a lot of job hopping. And then with the like macroeconomics of what's happening today, they've actually seen a huge shift into job staying, which is kind of interesting. Regardless of the macroeconomic, you should still be aware that people on average change jobs every like 2.5 years as like a benchmark for professionals. And I mean, change companies, I should say. That's a pretty big deal. And for those of you that are marketing, 2.5 years can feel like a day. So you should be aware. If you're doing outbound 101, is it necessarily important? No, but just know that sending emails to emails that don't exist does damage your email domain sending reputation. So as a part of a complex outbound org, sorry about that, it is important that you're aware that it exists and do your best to name it. And that is a great example of what a waterfall could be used for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, you call this like, and I'm just going to shine a giant light on it. It's like when you're emailing someone who's no longer at a job anymore, that affects your email health. Like our domain has email health. Like we don't want to continue to do that. And also it messes with the data on your emails, like, right? Mm-hmm. So detecting when people are moving is important, but going back to what you said way at the beginning, it's like, if you actually know that those people moved, shows that you're paying attention to their like personal life, because your job is part of your personal life. So it's like paying attention to that also shows that you actually care about a person and what's happening in those transitions of life.
There's this, and there, like, so when you put salespeople in this conversation, the ones that like ring the bells and get like, you know, like the boiler room type salespeople, mm-hmm. One of the things that they celebrate is when somebody changes a job, they have a new set of problems and conversations, and it's a good entry point. Well, I think we know, especially for growth, we deal with executives and we are senior leaders. When you first landed a job, the last thing that you have is free time, right? Mm-hmm. So you probably aren't, and you also have to play it safe. So you're probably not going to rely on new vendors doing new things at a new job where you probably have crazy goals. Yeah. But it's a really cool tool for a company like Growth that creates really deep relationships with our customers. So that way, when somebody leaves company A and goes to company B, instead of just getting a generic note like, hey, congrats on your new role, I tend to like send a LinkedIn message like, hey, when they announce it, I'm always like, oh, that's sick. Good job. And then on LinkedIn, just like, hey, if you need anything, the tenure that you had working with us previously transfers. So I consider you still that same client, and you need anything, and you know how I am with like our kind of key accounts. Like you can back channel me anytime, and I have sidebars with all of them. So it's a really healthy way to show that you care, and like I do care. So it feels great to be like, hey, Ryan, congratulations. I know you've been gunning for that job for a while. Sick move, bro.
Yeah.
Oh.
I agree. Like the relationship side is important, but I don't know that, like, I heard a statistic at one point that was like X percent, it was a pretty large percent of like technology decisions are made within the first few months of a executive's new role. Like they come in, they evaluate, they shake things up, right?
And let me push back on that. When you're talking to people in those situations, do they tend to want to experiment with new things, or are they coming out with pre-existing relationships and opinions based off of what's happened in the past with a different company?
You're right. So it very much pre-existing, but like if you're a company who sells that thing that they've used previously, right? Like if they're a go to love HubSpot their whole career, and you're trying to target somebody moving into that role, if you know they have an affinity towards HubSpot, that's the best time to strike.
Yes, 100%. Okay. Yes. That is the best time to strike. Sounds so nefarious. I feel like it's the best time to say, hey, you're used to having this resource. It's still available. You just need a new contract.
Right. I'm a salesperson, Chris. Strike is the perfect word for that.
You're right. I should be.
Strike while the iron's hot. I think that's what the salespeople say.
Yes. Yes. And you are right. And for this person in that role, like how nice would it be to be able to be proactively reached out to and say congratulations, and like we would love to extend the offer to help since we've worked with each other. Maybe you make that help look a little different for them than you might an out of the box customer. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so we have on a tradition. I can't even say it's a tradition because you all know this is the first episode, but we're
shotgun a beer. No,
that was not in the script. Ignore him. We will have a tradition. It's going to start if my ADHD takes me past 2 episodes or 1, to ask dumb, smart questions. Okay. This is a section where I'm going to ask my guests, today it's Chris, questions that I've heard from customers, from the LinkedIn universe, from my network, or from my own brain, of questions that I've asked that I feel like kind of feel dumb, but then also that's a really good question. So Chris, my question for you is, do I still need tools like Apollo, Zoom Info, Clay, like other enrichment tools if I have HubSpot?
Okay, it depends. If you're looking for net new customers, I would say yes, because of the strategies behind acquiring net new customers. The best strategies involve you knowing who they are and you showing up and saying, "Hi, I'm Chris. Companies like yours have this problem and we help with it." And that's like the basics of Outbound. So HubSpot does a lot of really powerful things, and there may be a future where Outbound and finding your next round of clients, it does become something that is a core function. But for right now, you absolutely need a third-party tool. And I would even argue that while you can prospect inside of HubSpot, in the spirit of transparency, I'm so sorry again.
This is why we
data. These tools, these enrichment tools, the email portion tends to be one of the foundational items. So use them. There are integrations that exist, and so the short answer is yes, you do.
Okay. One, I decided that there is going to be a new tradition that we will start. Anytime someone says it depends, you have to drink.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So it depends. You have to drink now. We both do.
Deal.
But 2, I think you're spot on with that. Like, you should not do cold outreach especially if you think about if your company is, but you've got 20, even 15, 20 BDRs doing their thing. The tools like Apollo connect well enough to HubSpot where you can still get the best of a all-on-one CRM to see activity, things like that, and get your full conversion rates. But you don't need to sacrifice holding seats for them necessarily in your CRM, but also create sort of that separation of worlds a bit by warming up on one platform and then actually getting them into your CRM when they're ready, when they say, yes, I want to hear from you.
Yeah. Use HubSpot blogs, use HubSpot have your website built on HubSpot, have your lead capture forms, all of the things that you use that are sticky, so you can kind of like catch the fly in the net, do on HubSpot, and that's when the contact gets passed off, right? Like a little rugby move to your teammate left to right, same kind of motion. So a lot of shouting and making noise and saying hellos with these outbound tools. And then as soon as they hit the net, they say, yeah, I would love to know more. Yes, I want a free butcher box meat package or whatever it is that you're giving away.
Yes.
Then you have it, and then you can start marketing to them. And one of your marketing messages might sound like a sales message where it's like, hey, I saw you were interested. Is this an opportunity for us to talk? If not, we're still going to send you the thing. The only exchange that we ask is that you allow us to market to you.
Okay.
And then it's our job to put the right message in front of you when you're ready, whether that's 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months down the line. The thing that I absolutely hate is people that do outbound, and the transaction is only good if you are like you had the targeting, you asked me to join this, and then I say yes, and then you say, but first we have to check out who you are.
Yeah.
I hate that. It's
give me a blood test,
bro.
Or yeah. Can you really like gift people butcher box? Is that a thing?
Well, I don't want to call them out necessarily, but that is how I did end up having a cool conversation with them, and this isn't intentional, and cut this if you want. I received a LinkedIn message from Vin, and it was like, hey, we're getting into the corporate gifting space. Corporate gifting season's coming up. Do you want to see what we have to offer? Here's a butcher box thing. I'm like, oh, cool. I know for me, that doesn't usually work when you're like some random dude selling me like weight loss services. I hate that. But I was like, oh, butcher box. I know it. I eat meat. Sounds great. Of course I'll sign up. And I represent a multi-million-dollar company. So yeah, I'll take the win. And I do love corporate gifting and not doing boring stuff. And as soon as I was like, my only hang up is that like I have vegan friends and clients, but I didn't think so. I said yes. The email I got back was Vin's BDR, or we'll call it just say teammate, where it's basically like, hey, click this link. And after I gave them my information, they didn't run enrollment, which they should have. They asked me to basically book a meeting to talk and get pitched to before I can claim what would be like a free steak. And I'm like, I don't mean to be a dick, but I'm $500 an hour. So like even the act of me talking to you, it's an unfair transaction. And on one end, it made me excited because it's like, oh, this was a good, healthy reminder that ABM still works. As long as you're a reputable brand that people want, all you need is a LinkedIn message in some cases. But also, when you are a reputable brand that people want, you still need to follow the rules. And so that turned into a LinkedIn post that was like, hey, ABM still works. Here's how I can prove that. They got me. But here's how you have to think about the whole relationship, which is here's the problem area. And then, yes, Vin and their CEO reached out and said.
Interesting. Well, there's a whole nother episode on gifting in the targeting world.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
There's, we represent for software spend. We spend, I don't know, close to $85,000, $100,000 a year in software. We do lots of travel. There's just so much stuff we spend money on. Our payroll, our health insurance. I'm absolutely okay for trading my time for a pitch. They just have to understand that, like, not only like there's a lot of time involved. That's the one thing that kind of kills me on B2B outbound side is like you got to respect the relationship. That's probably episode 74.
For sure. We're going to keep it going till then. So we talked a little bit about intent, like teased it. Have you taken a look in HubSpot at like okay, so let me back up two steps back. I grew up in a demand-based, Bombora, 6 Sense world, worked with clients who spent way too much money. Like, I'm like, hey, can you just give me that money instead of spending it on these tools? Kind of like for years, are paying for intent data in the dark web with these other tools. Have you fast forward to today, HubSpot brings in a little bit of intent. Like, have you looked at those tools yet?
I haven't done a deep dive. I did prepping for that HubSpot for startups, did dive a little bit into it. And this is like, I do have lots of experience, but it wasn't like I spent hours. I was like, oh, this is interesting. But the way that our intent was signaling was so broad. It isn't quite how and I didn't dabble, but the way I think intent is super powerful is in hyper specific use cases. And I can give an example. So like Apollo, one area I think they can improve is they do supply intent data attribution, but it's through a filter that they provide. Whereas Rollworks or AdRoll ABM, their intent data was open search. And why that was powerful was for companies like I'm very passionate about manufacturing. I just think a lot of these modern tools are just crazy for these companies. But let's say you're a safety apparel company and you have a very unique safety apparel asset that's expensive and hard to get. We'll call it like the Darth Vader suit. And this is kind of a thing. So, but it has a name. With intent data that's open search, I can type that item in and actually see that people were searching for it. Knowing that it's hard to get, I can send an email from the company that actually owns it. And it's kind of like Jacuzzi, like they own the brand, but there's a bunch of knockoffs.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So then they have a way to say, hey, I know you were looking for the suit and I know it's difficult to get a hold of. We do have them in stock right now. Is this something you want to talk about? We also do a bunch of other shit if you want to know about it too. And for me, when I first heard of intent and first dove in, that's, to me, it was like black and white reading. Like, this is exactly how it should be used. I have not had a lot of success in the more broad cases because I have, like, as growth, up until lately, we haven't been a big enough brand to be recognizable in someone's inbox, although I think those days are starting to change.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a really great marketing and sales team and director of revenue that's changing that so fast.
It is.
That was so self-serving, but also that question was so self-serving. The best part about being the host is you can ask questions that you know you have answers to, even if your guests don't. But I have had a chance to look at it, and I think you're right. Like I haven't played with Apollo and their intent a ton, and I think one thing to think about data enrichment is like we go demographic, right? We're like, oh, do we have the job, the company, all that fun stuff. But to me, true data enrichment, the end goal of data enrichment is getting in front of having all the right information and getting in front of the right people at the right time. And intent is a huge part of getting there at the right time. And when I saw, like, obviously research intent has been in HubSpot for a while. And so basically you can, just like you have been able to in Bombora, 6 Sense is like, hey, if I want to know who's searching B2B marketing right now. And you can plug that in and it'll surface companies that are searching. And then more recently, they've now added signals. So it's not just like a marketing tool. It's now also a tool to basically say, hey, if in my target audience, I have Nike and I want to know if someone at Nike is searching for B2B marketing, I'm going to send a ping to that rep that owns that account, kind of thing. And obviously we have that next step where the other layer of data enrichment comes in of like, I know my target audience at Nike is the senior VP of marketing, right? And I now have to go enrich and find who is the person that's searching that. Well, likely it's person in marketing, right? So you have to like do some reasoning and put the pieces together. But I love that what I and many other companies have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for in a tool, HubSpot's now layering into their marketing automation tool.
Amen. And it's, we're experiencing this for bigger companies, right? And with huge contract values, and we're dealing with the customer that's talking about this now. It baffles me that they think that the way to hit these Fortune 100 companies is going to take a couple of months and be an email that offers basically nothing. Like, if you really are trying to earn these people's business and they're worth hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year to you, and you're saying that you want to be clever in how you reach out to them, there's a lot of ways to do it. And it's not going to happen not using all of these tools together and putting real thought into what's the best way we can show up to help them. First, like, what is our self-serving, lowest lift, lowest effort way to get them to talk to us? Yeah.
Like, find the right people who are far along in their journey is the way.
And realize they have a life going on. That senior VP of marketing in Nike might be in the mix of having a kid or losing a parent or buying a house. I'm just saying that there's beyond the things that we think about of like, what's a good time? These people are on their own spectrum of life too. So great outbound demand gen programs need to last forever, not just, oh, we're going to try it for 3 months and see if it works. Because there's so many outside factors that will influence whether or not it works.
Yeah. This is a side factor. And this is the most morbid thing I could share on this episode. But I read the statistic the other day that 30 million people on Facebook are dead. Like when you die, your Facebook doesn't go away.
No, it's actually very sad. Like when you get like, I've seen a lot of friends over the pop back up, but it's awful.
There's two ways of looking at it. It's sad, but it's also like a reminder of those people, right? You wouldn't think about it maybe sometimes if you didn't have that pop up. But I bring that up because like data enrichment also helps us when people are not to think of like the most.
It's true, but people die. You don't want to pay for those marketing contacts.
Right. Why are you paying for ads for someone who's dead?
Who's that?
This may get edited out of the first episode. Anyways, but life changes happen beyond. You made me think of that because like people retire, people switch, transition out of the job market that they're in right now completely. There's the bloopers for everybody.
That's great. I want to just start saying it depends just to make you drink.
It depends. Okay. The last little bit of this section, and it comes at the end because, I mean, why would it come at the beginning when the title of this segment is Beer Goggles Test? So we're gonna find out if we have our beer goggles. I'm not gonna make you walk a straight line. Don't make me walk one. I'm just kidding. I'm good. But the idea here is that there's all sorts of information floating around on social media, and we essentially need to figure out if this idea is intoxicated, they got their beer goggles on, or factual. So today's idea is. Before I say it, I'm going to first say that we've been talking about data enrichment and we're not going to get into credits a ton. That's a totally different episode. Come back, subscribe.
Yes.
But data enrichment, when we go beyond the free stuff in HubSpot now, consumes credits. Like you got to pay per credit. You get credits like with your subscription at different tiers. There's different levels of credits. So you're paying out of the box for a pretty sizable, like enterprise, like 10,000 credits, right? But those have to be used to use different AI features, agents, data, as well as enrichment. So there's been a lot of uproar in the world ecosystem of HubSpot of like, is enrichment, or is HubSpot going to regret the credit-based model when it comes to enrichment?
I don't think it's HubSpot's decision. The tools that they lean on use that system. And so it's already a pre-established process. So I think that it's funny because the people that complain, it's like, oh, you're still operating like it's 2005. I enjoy employment while you haven't, is like my first instinct. Second, it is just the nature of how these AI tools operate. And so HubSpot buys data through credit-based purchases through these platforms. And so that it's just like, if we were to have, if we were, I don't know, to go all digital, we would be using like Bitcoin to pay and people would complain about it. And it's like, hey, this is just, we're on Mars, whatever the Mars currency is going to be, we'd have to use regardless of if we like the change or not. So what I try to remind people, like keep a healthy mindset towards things because change is going to be changing whether you want it to or not.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? It's like always the same people, like no matter what the change is, like you get this negative reaction to change almost, or some opinion over the change. And they're like,
I do try to curate who I see. And I tend to curate those types of people out of my life because if you're not approaching life with a positive attitude and a growth mindset, like I just don't need to see it. Good luck.
Yeah. I see. I'm not I think I gravitate towards those people because I want to argue with them. I want to flip their mind and be like, okay, you can look glass half empty, but like, can we think about it half full kind of scenario? And that's how I think of it too, right? Like anytime HubSpot's made a huge pricing change, there has been this, like, when seats were added, right? People react and they're like, oh, it's going to cost me more money and credits are going to cost me more money. But when you like zoom out and you actually do the math and you look at like the cost, like you're not paying more. If you don't have enrichment today and you were thinking about investing in Zoom Info, you're going to pay more with Zoom Info than if you pay for those credits from HubSpot. And actually, I've done the math with the credits and like it's cheaper. Like literally what's printed online is by the cents is cheaper to use HubSpot than some other platforms, not all of them.
But no, I totally agree with you. And like, as a rule, like you're not going to change any of these people's minds. And I've been a small business owner. I'm a founder. We're bootstrap startup, and now, thanks to you, doing very well, right? So I try to remind people that are still stuck in this kind of like trivial mindset of it's expensive or it's foreign to me or this is a new cost, but it should represent either a new opportunity for your business that had you done it the old school way of like hiring a bunch of people and then that you no longer need to do. Or it should be like bolting on like an Iron Man suit to people and then making more out of the people that they already have. So the people that come with it with just such a like negative tonality, it's not helpful, and you're just going to get blockbustered. That's what happens.
Yeah. Also, I'm stealing that. I've never heard anyone use that blockbustered phrase like the way you just did, and it's going to be in my repertoire. Adding ChatGPT right now.
Maybe you need to find one that's like more like next gen based, but at least.
Oh no, I walked in a Blockbuster, Chris. Like I mean, my generation, us millennials, we know what it is. I'll never
see it go. But also, wasn't it annoying? Like it was annoying that they couldn't have. Why didn't Blockbuster do the boxes, and why didn't Blockbuster just do what Netflix did? Like the whole system's stupid. But because you had a bunch of old people that were complaining that the industry was changing and they didn't want to change, so I don't feel bad for them either. But
but also I'm an old soul, and there is something so nostalgic and special, and I miss these days of like.
How cool would it be if you were logging into Blockbuster instead of Netflix, and you still had that blue and gold logo because they didn't stop innovating?
Right. True.
It'd be awesome. I can't believe they didn't try to come back up. I don't know.
I think we should bring back like the Blockbuster. I think it is, right? That's happening now where you can actually physically go in. I don't know. I love that. Like going.
There's at least one store left. But if I was Netflix, I would have bought the Blockbuster brand and then I would have just made it a sub piece of Netflix. So when everybody was looking for a piece of nostalgia, you just go to that part of Netflix and you get to see some of that iconography and like colors and fonts. And then poof, you're, whatever.
Exactly. Anyway, this has been.
I'm gonna write Netflix a letter.
Yes, write them a letter. But this has been a pint of wisdom, wisdom to Blockbuster apparently, and Netflix of like lessons learned, but also a lot of data enrichment. And I appreciate Chris, my first guest, so much for being on call and literally 50 minutes. The guest definitely missed out on the inaugural episode of Pints of Wisdom. But the final thing before we sign off is what would be a whole discussion without a little piece of wisdom? So, Chris, like, what wisdom do you have for all of our watchers?
Don't get blockbustered. Like, that's my wisdom. It's be like, look for the new tools, stay curious, innovate, try things, fail, learn, adapt, and grow, and stay in that mindset forever, whether you're a senior leader or a new hire. Without that curiosity, you're going to get blockbustered professionally.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you so much for being with us.
I'm happy to be here.